Hello students, I'm Dr. Taha Ayub, working as lecturer in the Department of Community Medicine, GMC Srinagar. And the topic for the today's session is concept of population control. I'll be dealing this topic in two parts, and the second part will be after it. And this topic, that is concept of population control, it's in continuation with the previous class that has been dealt with you by Dr. Wasim, that's about the population explosion, wherein it was discussed in detail its causes, its repercussions. So now we talk about the learning objectives for today's session is that by the end we should be able to understand what is population control, why is it important to have it, and how can we achieve population control in any nation. Before taking up the topic, let's have an introduction first. As we know, the number of humans has increased enormously during the previous millennia, especially in the previous 2 centuries. Population growth can be defined as the increase in the number of individuals in a population. Globally, if we see around 83 million people are being added to a population base annually, or 1.1%, that the annual population growth rate is 1.1% per year globally. Population has risen to 7.8 billion in 2020 as compared to just 1 billion in 1800s. And if we talk of the issues that the developing countries face these days, population explosion is one of the gravest issues that the developing country faces. As per the United Nations population statistics, the human population grew by 30% between 1990 and 2010, which is alarmingly very high. And if we compare by any standards, this population increase is beyond the carrying capacity of the human ecosystem. And if man has to survive this threat of his existence, it is of paramount importance to control and to contain the population explosion. Because excessive population has undue adverse effect on the population resources. If we have more people, that means more mouth to be fed. That means more consumption. In a way, it leads to the exploitation of our very own exhaustible natural resources. Now, if we talk about our very own nation, that's India. Nowadays, presently, we know that we stand at second most populous country of the world after China, with our current population being 1.36 billion. That is as per the worldometer. But it needs to be reiterated here that if we follow the current fertility trends, India is poised to overtake the China as the world's most populous nation in the coming decades. That is by 2050, we are going to be the world's most populous nation in the world. So this was about the introduction and now coming to the population control, its concept, what actually population control means. We know that the population explosion has its own repercussions, its own adverse effects. So that means that population control is a need of the hour for overall growth and development of the country. Now we need to understand what this population control actually means. It implies any policy or any practice of artificially attempting to limit the growth in the number of population, or in other ways we can define it as altering the rate of growth of human population, but artificially. Population control programs are viewed as one of the important programs which needs to be implemented so as to have a stabilization of the population of the country. And India, the formation of National Indian Planning Commission for Population Control is viewed as a necessary move for motivating all the people to reduce the population size so as to deal with this population explosion issue in our country. So we need to understand, why do we need to have these population control programs in place? Why do we need them? Not only they help in implementation of the population control programs, but that there are certain other things which needs to be dealt with so as to arrive at a successful population control program. So the first thing will be to obtain a picture of the factors which contribute towards our rapid increase in population. That means we need to understand why this population explosion is happening in our country. What are the factors behind it? These programs deal with these factors. Then to understand the complete understanding of human fertility factors and what could be the means of regulating these human fertility things in our nation. Then to identify the barriers. What are the factors that hamper or that stops an individual from adopting a small family norm so that we know what factors are there and we can handle them, we can address them. Then to identify the ways of educating and informing the public about the same so as to change their mindset regarding the small family norms, informing them about the disadvantages of the population norm so that these control programs are accepted by the people as such. And to finally make these family planning programs as an integral part of the services in health sector. Now we know what population control means. Why is it important to have the population control programs in place? Now, the important thing which we need to know is the technique of attaining this population control. So, these are the effective measures which can be employed for the control of population growth. One is the development. It's a two-way side. You develop any society or any community, it automatically its other standards are automatically taken care of. Its education, its living standards, and obviously the population stabilization will happen. Generating awareness among the masses regarding the advantages of having small family norms. Then making the family planning methods accessible, available to the general population, and making them aware about the same. Then taking the help of the legislator or the law and order things in order to implement certain things. Then, of course, the women empowerment, empowering them to take the right decisions for themselves, for their families, and certain social change which need to be brought in our society so that the population control process is accepted as a norm. So, if we talk about the development, any economy is considered as developed if its population is non-discriminated and is just. If we see into the factors that in any society, if we have the high poverty, it's generally seen people over there are usually illiterate, not aware about the facilities available in their setup. They are usually not able to access the medical facilities available to them, not able to make the informed decisions. So it's kind of a vicious cycle wherein if we have a high poverty which leads to high illiteracy, which leads to lack of awareness, interrelated to inability of an individual to avail the medical facilities available to them, and in turn which leads to the population explosion and hence the increased population growth. Now it's very important to understand here how to break this vicious cycle, how to intercept them. So this is something which we can achieve by means of development. That's if we ensure the development and if we avoid discrimination of that community, that's avoiding discrimination on in terms of economic profile, socioeconomic profile, in terms of religion, caste, creed, it would eliminate the challenge of population growth. That means overall development means that society will have good economic standards, educated, well informed, aware of the medical facilities, and in turn, the population will be stabilized in that community. The second technique by which we can attain this population control is spreading awareness among the general masses. People need to be told and made aware of the consequences of having more children. We need to create awareness campaigns regarding the information to the people that how they will be able to provide or they will be able to fend to the needs of their children if they don't have too many. It needs to be percolated down to the people that uncontrolled population is one of the important reasons behind the gravest issues we are facing in our country, so as to expand their reasoning and understanding. They need to understand that if they take this few steps towards population stabilization, many of our problems in the country can be dealt with. So this is the second part of the of my PPT of my class. It will be dealt in the next session, which will be following